Do you ever see those half-half photos and the top half is like above the water and the bottom half's below the water, and then you try and replicate it with your GoPro and you're getting like half the GoPro above and half the GoPro below, but there's waves and there's like a little bit of chop and it's making it really difficult to get this half-half shot. But you know, if you just keep trying, you'll eventually get one top, one half, one top, on the bottom. It just never works out. If you think that, we have a very similar IQ. And that IQ is slightly below average. Anyway, we're going to get into all that kind of propaganda. But for reals, there is so much information on water photography. It goes deep. So I'm here to water it down. I hate myself. First things first, cameras aren't waterproof, so you're going to need something that can go underwater. GoPro, or if you've got a camera and you want to take photos on that camera because it's a better quality, you need a housing. So a water housing can be in the form of a bag, like this, or an actual housing like this, or it might just be a GoPro like this, or it might just be like your mobile phone, because they're kind of waterproof now. It just depends what level of photography you want to do. If you just want to start out and try and see how your artistic eye works, maybe the iPhone's the best option. I want to run through like your options kind of price-wise first of all. If you already have a camera, these Diapack bags, they're like $100, and they're kind of amazing. I bought this recently because I wanted something that could hold any camera, or any camera that'll fit in there. So I've been putting my 5D in there for photos and my A7S III in there for videos. It's been working really good. Also, on my recent trip, I bought a GoPro for the first GoPro I've ever owned, and I'm actually kind of blown away with it. It's actually been phenomenal, which I didn't expect, but they're very, very good these days. I mean, they're 10 editions in, so you'd hope that they are. The usability, the ergonomics, the functionality of it is like flawless. The photos were pretty good, and the videos have like quite a very poppy color. And for the job that I was doing, it was like social content, so it was kind of perfect for that. And it has like super view, which is like super wide. GoPros are great. I feel like they're like a great entry into this whole world of underwater photography. Within this is my GH5. I've had my GH5 for maybe almost like 3 years now. It has been absolutely phenomenal. It's never really been my A cam, but it's been a phenomenal B cam. And the fact that I can get it underwater is great. And this is a Seafrogs housing. It's like one of the cheapest on the market. Seafrogs are very, very good. I recommend them. They're cheap. They work well. I've never had a leak, and it's got like a little buzzer in it. So if it does leak, it goes, and you can't not hear it. So you'll know if there's a problem. Yeah, I've taken this to like, I've scuba dove with this. I've like surf photographied with this. Literally anything. I've done like pool shoots with this. Like this thing is just friggin' amazing. And this dome on the front, I think it's like a 6-inch port, or 9-inch port, not sure. Either way, that is what you need to get those half-half photos we're talking at the start, because it like displaces the water, it pushes it off, and then your camera can see within like above and below. So to answer the question at the start, that's what you need to get that half top bottom thing. You know what I'm talking about. So it's totally up to you which one you want to go. I'd probably almost recommend this, but in saying that, my friend Elliot bought one of these in 2017. He bought it off a guy in Indonesia, Balinese man, secondhand. He's starting to put together what might have happened. It leaked and his 5D Mark II broke. Yeah, so definitely make sure these are watertight. Do all the testing. I inflate mine with a lot of air, so it's almost like a round bubble and it's very buoyant. Just to make sure that it is airtight and therefore watertight. Because it's quite a long port, and if you have a lens that's like a wide lens, this thing moves around and you can sometimes get like vignetting, or like you get the edge of the thing in there and it's a bit of a nightmare if you're shooting wide. But I've been using my A7S III in it, and I've been shooting at like 50mm or even like 35mm and above on a full frame, and it's been fine. Like it's seen through the bullshit and it doesn't get any of that like vignetting, so it's been good. But yeah, if you're shooting wide, be conscious of that. So back to GoPros and how good they were. They're also kind of dog shit for a couple of reasons. One, it kind of only gives you one leg of content, and that is sort of like the social, selfie, poppy, color content. It doesn't give you any options for depth, which is, in my opinion, what looks so much better in water is if you can get like some like foreground blurry water, and then you have a subject. It's a lot harder to shoot like that because you can't just point. You kind of have to like be conscious and like not unconscious in the water, that would end very badly, but be conscious and like be thinking about what you're doing, because you're going to have to like shoot depth, and that requires a lot of like concentration to try and get your focus points right, because it could be grabbing anything if you're shooting autofocus. And speaking of focus, should you run autofocus or manual focus? I say autofocus, always, because you can like set your points on your camera, depending on what camera you have and how the autofocus system works. But the two cameras I have, being the GH5 and the A7S III, they're good autofocus cameras, so I can rely on that. If you don't, maybe just set like a super high aperture, shoot very wide, can't miss the shot. Like a GoPro, infinity aperture or whatever, and everything's in focus. You don't get that like depth, but like if you're just trying to ease in, could be the option. I went on this Tive tool the other day, and this bloke was saying like, he was trying to tell me what to shoot, and he was saying, just make sure you're on like auto ISO, because we're shooting seals and they were like going like above and below, and instantly I was like, no, like don't shoot auto underwater, because it looks messy, because your exposure is never changing more than underwater. Like, because there's literally like, you're either pointing up and it's blown out because there's the sky, or you're pointing down and it's like super dark. So you kind of have to have the option of changing your exposure when you're in the water. This is where the housing's perfect, because it's got all these wheelie dials where I can change my shutter speed and my aperture and my ISO. These little bags, they're a little bit more difficult, a little bit more like fiddling around, but they still give you that option. Yeah, because if you like, there's nothing grosser than like when you film something and then you point to another area and the exposure and the white balance changes, and you just like, you instantly just think that looks like trash. To get around that, I think you should just like set your shot, know what you're going to shoot, and then just set your exposure to accommodate for that. And if you get a different shot where you want to point down, then change the exposure for that. Like you just gotta, it's a lot more work, but it makes your footage look a lot better. Don't shoot auto, especially not auto ISO, because if you point to the darkness, it could just blow it to like 12,800 ISO, and then it just ruined your image anyway. Don't shoot auto ISO, please don't do it. And then for like frames and stuff, again, totally depends on the project. You could shoot super slow-mo, which like, if you're shooting depth, I would recommend shooting super slow-mo, because like, you get like fragments of like, I feel like when you're shooting depth, it's a lot harder to get the frame shot. So you might only have like a moment. And I feel like slow motion water with depth is just chef's kiss. It is like pristino. It looks amazing. But yeah, it totally depends on the project. If you're doing like an ad on TV and it's like a high energy thing, maybe you want to shoot 25 FPS. Totally up to you. Completely depends on the project. Another tip, if you, when I went scuba diving, I noticed that I needed a red filter and I didn't have one. These little red bits of glass that allow you to see the true colors of underwater, because else everything just kind of gets shrouded in blueness. I know you can buy them for GoPro as well, and they slot on. So if you're shooting anything that's kind of deep, like coral, I would highly recommend getting a red filter. It'll just give you a lot more color retention, and it won't make everything look blue and washed out. That's my last tip. And to conclude this video, I want to show you some photos and some videos that I roughly shot on my last afternoon on the Gold Coast with my best friend Elliot. Have a sus.
Oh, dude, you just can't beat. Oh, he's going over. Oh, man, just come here and just have a look. Oh my God. Dude, let me get a photo of that. It's my friend Elliot, just been out here surfing on the Gold Coast. Best day of my life. Best day of my life. Aeroplane going over, don't know if you can see. Oh, he's called it, Oh, it's a good one. Oh, please do good, do good, do good. Oh. Oh man. That way. Oh, we doing floaty, boys? Thanks, bro.